Hi guys, thanks for joining me. My name is Callum, aka Caffalump, and this is my first ever Total War Warhammer 2 quick battle video, where we have the mighty Darwi going up against the scheming Dark Elves. So let's get into composition. Leading the Darwi today, we have the mighty Rune Lord sitting on his Anvil of Doom, giving a nice increase to magic resistance, which is always helpful against the Dark Elves. Standing behind him, we have Ulfar's Raiders, ready to start hurling axes at anyone who comes close. They can be very vicious if used correctly, though, as you'll see, I don't think I do quite use them correctly. On either flank, we have a couple of organ guns, which are there to really just try and punch a hole through. And as we can see on the back, we have the Goblobber sending off its first little goblin to rain down hell on our opponents. Behind Raiders, we have a Runesmith sitting there with Rune of Wrath and Ruin ready, and the Karak Hammer, I believe it is, just to help dull any opponent who gets a little bit too close. And on the Rune Lord, we also have Rune of Wrath and Ruin, Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. That's quite a mouthful. And I can't quite think of his name, but it is the Rune of Damage the Master Rune of Damage Resistance, to give a nice plus 44% damage resistance, which can really pay off. Especially with these little bastards. Dragonback Slayers, very vicious, just known to go down a little bit quickly if engaged incorrectly. But I mean, with that 50 melee attack, they are just terrifying, really. Behind them, we have a Thane standing ever so vigilant with his Tormentor Sword at the ready to stop any rear charges in their tracks. And of course, the Goblobber, always raining down hell on its opponents. And for the front line, we have 5 lots of miners with blasting charges. I often like to go for a bit more of a range-based Darwi force. This one I was playing a little bit silly. I like the double organ gun setup. It's just a bit of a laugh, I think, normally, and worked surprisingly okay this time around. So yes, of course, not much money for the actual front line, so I went for some miners with blasting charges in order to let them make that nice big impact when they hit their first opponents. For my opponent, we have, just to quickly make note, some Harpies far over here on the right flank, which I completely didn't realise for the most part to begin with. We have leading them the mighty Malekith on his lovely chariot, which I did not realise was anyone wheeled until today. And just love the detail I've put into it, it's lovely. But he is probably one of the main reasons why I did want a Rune Lord with the Anvil of Doom, because he can be a bastard with his magic if he's allowed to just go about casting it willy-nilly. Fighting on Dark Elf side, we have 4 lots of Dark Shards with shields, though shields haven't come in too useful against a Goblobber, it seems, for 1 lot of Dark Shards, as they start to turn tail already. Supporting them, we have a line of Bleak Swords, obviously again meant to probably similar to myself, meant to just be a bit of a chaff line, something to collide with, while the Dark Shards would have pulled back and started hammering onto what was most likely expected to be a heavy dwarven front. Not quite this setup. And then behind the Bleak Swords, we've got 2 lots of Hagenef Executioners. They're really just going to go to town on any infantry. Really good choice against a Darwi, anytime near enough. And a Death Hag on her pretty golden hoopty cart thing, which is just going to push into lines and pull the ride back out through them. So, without further ado, apologies for the somewhat shoddy camera work, I am still getting used to it. Let us get into a main fight. You can see the Dark Shards are trading a little bit. When I say trading, they're hammering down on the miners, and in the meantime you've got 1 organ gun hammering home on Malekith, while the other one dives into the Dark Shard front line. You can see as well the Bugman's Rangers start popping in shots, and they manage to deal a good amount of damage to Malekith. Again, considering these are not armor-piercing units, and he's got 120 armor, you can see the leadership is just melted, and the Master in Wrath and Ruin goes down. But at the same time, yep, that's it. He gets Soul Stealer down and start draining tech points and wearing down those Raiders, which I really do notice later on. I sent the Dragonback Slayers after him a little bit. They still just couldn't quite catch up to him correctly. Meanwhile, Harpies came in out of bloody nowhere and started pecking away at my organ gun, and I had to stop that. So I got the Bugman's Rangers start pecking away, and meanwhile I withdrew the Slayers before they got too out of position and melted by the Dark Shards or Executioners. As you can see, the Dark Shards at that point start trying to hit home with them. You can see his front line is slowly moving forward, but I have a very broken front line myself, so not quite the most standard fight. You can see the breath attack there, nearly killing some of the Slayers, but they managed to avoid it just in time. Meanwhile, the Raiders come forward, start hurling those axes down. You can see the Death Hag, which is just half of a volley, has already taken a good 15-20% damage, and it just climbs up. It's silly how much I can do, really. Meanwhile, the Bugman's are completely unimpeded, just pecking away at who they want. Malekith just kind of chilling for a moment, gathering himself together, then Murderous Prowess kicks in, of course. I had some Dark Shards start pecking away on this side, so for some reason I decided I better send my Thane in to deal with them. That makes sense. Well, it did at the time anyway, and I quickly realised, yeah, not the best idea. The Bugmans are trading incredibly well with them. They're both shielded units, 10% more up, 10 up more armor on the Bugmans. But I think you can see in terms of fire rate, with the regeneration as well, the Bugmans have it. At this point, the front line their front line comes crashing down to me, and this is where I start to pay for it a little bit. The organ gun gets melted just by some weak swords. I shouldn't have expected any more, really. And meanwhile, Uthar's Raiders, they get torn a new one, really. Against the Death Hag, she's just not having any of it and killing my 4 Raiders. Meanwhile, Malekith coming in on the side with a chill wind. You can see it didn't do much against the Bugmans. The magic resist just helps too much with them, I believe. Meanwhile, the Death Hag is sitting there pretty in the middle of my forces. The Harpies actually approached from the rear and nearly completely wiped out the Goblobber, which left me kind of a broken unit, with miners fleeing, a Thane forcing some units off, and some miners sitting on the back there. It's kind of a pocket of resistance here, but the second organ gun quickly goes down undefended, and the Rangers try and get some space in between them and the Executioners. Meanwhile, these miners come back shortly after the Raiders will as well. Until then, you have the Slayers having to fight tooth and nail against just everything coming their way, and the Rune Lord standing strong, trying to fight off a unit of Executioners, and managing to do so. Again, another chill win, but you can see the damage just isn't that great with a mixture of the natural Dowie magic resistance and the Anvil of Doom. It really paid off, I have to say. At this point, he seems to have forgotten about a group of Hagenef Executioners, so I go to pin them down with some miners and let the Ulfar's Raiders and these Bugmans deal with them. The Runesmith starts going head to head with the Death Hag, which did scare me a little bit because I figured that probably wasn't going to end well, so the Bugmans start supporting. At some points, soon I bring my Thane back after realising he's not doing very much. Never did do much with the miners. I thought I sent them an attack order, apparently not though from the looks of it. Meanwhile, the Bugmans on the right hand flank are still fighting strong, just pecking away at Malekith. The Dragonback Slayers, not the best matchup, but they are dealing with bleak swords, even if it's costing a few too many units. should have pulled them back, really. You can see Runesmith and Death Hag are still going at it. It's starting to look a bit better for Runesmith. You've got the Rangers, both lots of Rangers trying to fight still. When I realised that the Hageneth Executioners had disengaged, I figured, well, given the Bugman's stats, you know what, go for it. 36-34 against the Bleak Swords versus 24-38. But I had nothing to lose. We'll check on them in just a moment. Meanwhile, I've got the Rune Lord attacking the Death Hag now with Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. That's just whittling it down like nobody's business. The Dragonback Slayer's still going against those Bleak Swords, but with the support of Runesmith now. Malekith sitting out in the wing, and just as the Executioners start pulling in, you can see the Bleak Swords and Bugmans engaged. The Bugmans are standing much stronger, especially with that regeneration. I go to move in the Raiders against these Executioners. No time. Army losses across the board, and as soon as they start retreating or routing, that was it. And I still don't quite understand how I pulled that one out my arse. But I did. All the better for me, I guess. So we can see here the the organ gun, one of them anyway, managed to really tear home, got so many kills compared to everything else. But then Dragonback Slayers really weren't going to go down quietly. They were going to get that glory if they were going to die. And they bloody well did, thankfully. Really paid off there. Goblobber with a good 80 kills. It helped stop at least one of the Dark Shard groups at the beginning, and I think that probably paid off. Yes, they returned later, but it meant I didn't have to deal with them immediately. For only a couple hits as well. The Ulfar's Raiders just sadly didn't get the engagements they needed. The Bugman's Rangers, they were very good, very mobile, very good at keeping themselves alive, thankfully, and they were able to be quite mobile and get to where they needed to, poking here and there. The Miners, I didn't expect too much, to be honest. They broke up the front lines. That was what I wanted. It meant he came in staggered and he wasn't prepared for it properly. Thane and Runesmith, they both carried a little bit of weight, I think. Runesmith really paid off with the Rune of Wrath and Ruin, slowing down units and just dealing small DOT as needed. And Thane, not the most utilised unit this match, I have to say. Had I kept him in the main engagement, I think the Death Hag might have gone down a lot quicker as well and would have been a lot more beneficial for myself. That was mismanagement. And that Rune Lord, held in the middle, got his hands dirty and wasn't afraid to do so. Yeah, I don't know, I wasn't too sure who to take, whether to go for a Rune Lord or just a normal Dwarf Lord, but I thought going Dark Elves, I want that Anvil of Doom really, just pump up that magic resist as much as possible, and I think if I hadn't, the Soul Stealer would have done more, and those Chill Winds would have torn through Rangers a lot worse than they did. So I think in the end I made the right choice. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments in the description, or leave your comments in the comment section, as you would think. Let me know what you think of this fight and how I kind of played it. Anyway, quick breakdown of Dark Elves. Malekith, he just couldn't get in range. As soon as he did start getting in close, the Slayers were on him. As soon as he pulled away, the organ gun was on him. And then always with the Bugmans pecking away at him. I don't think, if I'd gone normal Rangers instead of the Bugmans, I don't think that would have gone anywhere near as well as it did. Wouldn't have had regeneration. I think I'd have been killed off and routed a lot quicker. So yeah, the Bugmans were definitely a worthy investment in this fight. That Death Hag ploughed through front line, did very well at doing so, I think, and yeah, really managed to melt the Raiders, which to my sadly didn't play off to my benefit at all. But eventually she did start fleeing, thankfully. Blink Swords, a lot more kills than I thought, a hell of a lot more kills. I'm thinking it must be a mixture of Bugmans and some of the miners, but I know they're still armoured, so obviously some very efficient bleak swords this game. Hagenef Executioners, one just got baited about and couldn't settle on a target really, so never came into too much fruition. Still a decent amount of kills though. I think they could have got a bit more though with a bit better management. Says the guy who could manage his Thane, which is a single unit. The other unit for Hagenef Executioners, I think this was the one that engaged my Rune Lord, and yeah, they melted against him with the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and Rune Smith supporting as well. The Dark Shards, yeah, they got a handful of kills, but I don't think he was expecting the front line I had with the miners deployed in Vanguard as well. It meant they could close that gap surprisingly easy, and I don't think he had skirmish mode set on, otherwise that would have been a much better option. Let them pull back behind the bleak swords, let the bleak swords take blasts or the charges, and yeah, then I think the bleak swords would have done a lot better job at clearing up shop with the miners. The Dark Shards would have been in a better position to support the bleak swords and help whittle down those miners, and yeah, I think that would have gone a lot better. But my opponent decided to come in with the Dark Shards, and I just made the best of the opportunity while I could. And of course those Harpies, they just came out of bloody nowhere, started pecking away at my Goblobber and Organ Guns, which was not very beneficial to me at all. But hey, that's how it goes, I guess. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, guys. As I say, this is my first video. I don't know how it's going to go down. I like to think my commentary's been interesting at least. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. You know, as long as it's constructive and critical, I'm happy to listen to it. If you want to just tell me how bad my video sucks, you don't need to tell me. I've already got a pretty good idea about it. But yeah, if you've got anything useful to say, feel free to like, share, subscribe if you really want. If enough of you seem to take an interest, I will be trying to get some more out, though no promises at this point in time, because I have a lot in the works. If you guys end up turning around saying, yeah, you like this, you like my commentary or whatever, I'll try and do some more Warhammer videos that more than happily to, but you know, unless I know that the interest is there, sadly, it's not something I intend to push on with as much as I do enjoy doing it. As I say though, just let me know what you guys think. Thanks guys for watching, and I will hopefully catch you at a later point.